Operation Mincemeat is a 2022 British war drama film directed by John Madden. It is based upon Ben Macintyre's book on the British Operation Mincemeat during the Second World War. The film stars Colin Firth, Kelly Macdonald, Matthew Macfadyen, Penelope Wilton, Johnny Flynn and Jason Isaacs. The film had its world premiere at the 2021 British Film Festival in Australia and was released in the United Kingdom on the 15th of April 2022 by Warner Bros. Pictures. It was then subsequently released on Netflix in North America and Latin American countries on the 11th of May 2022. The film is set in 1943, where British intelligence officers concocted a ruse to lure Nazi forces to another corner of the Mediterranean while the Allies launched an invasion into Sicily. For bait, they used the corpse of a tramp, and the Germans took it hook, line and sinker. Montague and Cholmondeley obtained a body from a vagrant named Glendale Michael, who died by suicidal poisoning. The team gives him a false identity of Major William Martin, complete with a detailed backstory, ID photos, and an engagement, in the hope the Germans will be deceived into thinking the Allies will storm Greece, rather than their actual plan to invade Sicily. The cast includes Colin Firth as Ewan Montague, a British judge, naval intelligence officer, and author; Matthew Macfadyen as Charles Cholmondeley, a Royal Air Force flight lieutenant, whose eyesight has cost him a career. These two men form part of the 20 Committee, a World War II counter-espionage and deception operation set up by the British Security Service. Then we have Kelly Macdonald as widowed secretary in the office, Jean Leslie. Then we have Penelope Wilton as Hester Leggett, Ewan Montague's loyal secretary who comes with him to join in on the operation. Simon Russell Beale as Prime Minister Winston Churchill. Paul Ritter as Bentley Purchase, a British physician and barrister. This film, of course, was Paul Ritter's final appearance prior to his death, and the film is dedicated to his memory. Johnny Flynn as famed James Bond author Ian Fleming. Jason Isaacs as John Godfrey, an officer of the Royal Navy. Ian Fleming is said to have based his James Bond boss, M, on Godfrey. And Mark Gatiss as Ivor Montague, Ewan's brother, who was an English filmmaker, screenwriter, producer, film critic, writer and table tennis player, and an active communist in the 1930s. Just an interesting trivia note I came across while doing research for this review. During Operation Market Garden, the Allied invasion of Holland in September 1944, 14 months after Operation Mincemeat and the invasion of Sicily, a British staff officer brought a complete Corps-level operations order with maps and graphics, which was never supposed to leave Britain with him on a transport glider that inadvertently left on the glider when he landed in Holland. The Germans eventually overran the glider landing zone and found the operations order. But due to Operation Mincemeat, they were convinced that this was another set of fake documents planted for deception by the British, and actually manoeuvred contrary to what the documents indicated for the first few days of the battle. Now, I found myself rather enjoying this film, tastefully directed here by John Madden, whose previous works of course included Shakespeare in Love and The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. I absolutely loved the cast in this one, and the dialogue plays out like an old school kind of film, if you will, with a great script and stoic performances, perfectly reflecting the hardship and uncertainty of 1940s London, a city under attack and a country at war, where people were bound by duty and loyalty to one's country over their personal feelings, wants and needs. In the middle of this chaos we have this implausible plan, something that in theory shouldn't have never worked, but by various means was managed to be pulled off. A macabre plot to say the least, but desperate times call for desperate measures, and sometimes you have to think out the box to win a war. I must say, when I first came across the story in an article I read, I was somewhat taken aback. Just the thought of a decaying dead body being used in this manner was just somewhat distasteful. But then when you really sit and think about it, you realize what a clever deception this really was. And that Glendale Michael, or William Martin as later would be known, could serve his country in death, if not in life. The acting is excellent in this wonderful film, and Firth is back as his typical upper crust best. Firth is an understated actor, to say the least, and not one with tons of range, but what he does do well is brings a sense of distinguished authority to his roles, and here he is great as Ewan Montague. And I do love his rapport and chemistry that he has with Kelly Macdonald's Jean Leslie as their unrequited attraction is explored. Matthew Macfadyen is excellent as Charles here, and is such a step away from his famed role of Tom in Succession. He is awkward, intelligent and passionate, and he has a fantastic working relationship with Montague, but unfortunately three's a crowd, as he also now develops feelings for Jean, but they are unreturned. And so a competition ensues between the two men in trying to win and vie for her affections, of course fueled by another vile performance by the ever-consistent Jason Isaacs. I really enjoyed Johnny Flynn here in his crafty performance as Ian Fleming. The same also can be said to the subtle references and inspirations hinted at in the film that of course would lead him to writing one of the most famed spy series ever, James Bond. I also quite enjoyed Simon Russell Beale as Churchill. Albeit he's not in the film much, I did quite like his take on this most famed of prime ministers. All in all, I will always enjoy a good film based on war, as long as the film is made with respect towards its source material. Stories coming out of both world wars are some of the most incredible times in human history, and the films that treat these with respect will always be highly regarded in my mind. The stories that come out of war are incredible enough. You don't need to really change anything. All you need to do is tell them and bring them to light to a modern audience. It's always important to highlight the many courageous acts that there were and how brave people were back then to live in this most horrific of times. As they say, truth is stranger than fiction, and this film proves that perfectly. This is a well-made, fascinating story with excellent performances from all of its leads. Operation Mincemeat gets an 8.5 out of 10.